Okay, guys, I'm going to try to rock through these section 4 questions as fast as possible because the baby is waking up and I have to go feed her. Okay, so section 4, the first one that you guys asked about was number 11. This is just kind of, again, a number question. A and B are coordinates of 2 points on a number line. So here's A and here's B. Okay, which of the following is equivalent to the statement that the absolute distance from A to B is greater than the absolute distance from -2 to 6? Okay, well, the distance from -2 to 6 is 8. Okay, the distance from A to B is A minus B absolute value because we don't know which one is bigger or smaller. Okay, so that's it right there. The absolute value. So difference and distance are the same thing. Oh, sorry, you couldn't quite see my little drawings. Difference and distance are the same thing. What is the distance from 2 to 5? Well, the distance from 2 to 5 is the same as the difference 5 minus 2. I did it again. Okay, the distance from 2 to 5 is the same as 5 minus 2, or 2 minus 5 would be -3. That's why we use the absolute value bars, okay, to know the distance. So that was number 11. Just the distance between the two is bigger than 8. So that was number 11. The next one was number 14. So this is another I question, but all we have to do is, in this case, multiply out. So 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times -2i is -4i, negative I times 3 is -3i, then negative I times -2i is plus 2i squared. So I squared, we remember, equals -1. Because if you square I and square the square root of -1, you get -1 back. So this is 6 minus 4i minus 3i is -7i plus 2 times -1. So 2 times -1 is -2. 6 minus 2 is 4, so 4 minus 7i. It's called a complex number. There'll always be one component that is a normal number like we know, and another component that's an imaginary number. All right, number 21. So this is the kind of question that I really love because it's simple algebra, and as long as you know your rules, there's nothing to it. So number 21 says, let f of x be defined by the equation f of x equals x squared minus 1. If b is a positive number, then find f of 1 over b. So you're just plugging it in, right? That shouldn't be a big problem. So f of 1 over b is 1 over b squared minus 1. So that just gives me 1 over b squared minus 1. Obviously, none of these are that. We have to simplify this. We have to combine this. So since I have a b squared on the bottom, I'm going to multiply this by b squared over b squared. So I get 1 minus 1 times b squared is b squared over b squared. Now I have a common denominator. So this is 1 minus b squared over b squared. And I look over here, and it's none of them. And then I look at this one, and I'm like, oh, I must have gotten it backwards. That's what I did. Okay, don't do that. Trust yourself, okay? The idea here is that this you should recognize as a special factor. This is a difference of squares. 1 is the same as 1 squared minus b squared. So this is 1 minus b, 1 plus b. So that's how the numerator is going to go. It's going to be 1 minus b, 1 plus b over b squared. So you've got to know your factors, difference of squares. So that's b right there. Then we got 2 more, 34 and 35. These are in the solving section. One of these, again, involves trig. So we're definitely going to have to do a trig review of the unit circle because it's come up a couple of times. Okay, but the first one is pretty simple. So we did a little bit of this year. If you have a compound inequality, what you want to do is you want to solve it twice. You want to solve each of these. Okay, so you're just going to solve it as 2 separate inequalities. So I'm going to come over here where I have a little bit of room. -3/5 is less than -2t plus 1. So you can do this however you are most comfortable. I, again, like to just get rid of the fraction right away. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 5, and that gives me -3 is less than -10t plus 5. Then I'm going to solve it. Okay, so I subtract 5 from both sides and get -8 is less than -10t. Then I'm going to divide by -10, and when you divide by a negative, that's when you flip the sign. So you get t is less than 4/5. Then I'm going to I'm going to solve the other side. Negative 2t plus 1 is less than negative 3/7. Okay, and again, you can do it the same way. I'm going to multiply through by 7 and get negative 14t plus 7 is less than negative 3. Subtract 3 from both sides, subtract 7 from both sides, and then divide by negative 14. So you get t is less than 4/5, and you've got t is greater than, oh man, I did it again. Okay. So now I know that t is less than 4/5 and greater than 10 over 14. Okay, so if you convert these to decimals, sorry, I gotta flip because I did this already. You get that t is greater than 4.3 and less than I'm sorry. You get t is 0.7143. You get that t is between this, but they ask for what is the SAT loves to do this. Okay, what is the one possible value of 6t? So you have to multiply this whole thing through by 6, and that's where you get. Sorry, this is 4.8, I believe, and then this is 4.28 something. Okay, so literally you can write in any number 4.37 if you wanted. 4.37 is between 4.28 and 4.8. You just literally type in or write in any number because it's one of those grid in answers. Okay, so here's the last one, number 35. It says if cosine of x minus pi is 0.4, what is the value of sine squared of x? Okay, so a lot of things that we're going to have to go over in this problem. Okay, so the first thing is a very brief description of the unit circle. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail here, but cosine theta are your x values and sine theta are your y values. Okay, and the radius of the circle is 1. So for instance, you always have whatever this is, the x is the x value of this point on the circle is the cosine of whatever angle this is, and the y value is the sine of whatever angle that is. Okay, so we'll go into this. I'll do a lesson on this, obviously, to review for you guys. So here they tell me the cosine of x minus pi. Well, again, remember that pi is 180 degrees. So starting here at 0 degrees, this is 90, this is 180, 270, and then back to 360. This is the same as pi and 2 pi. So 1 revolution is 2 pi, half a revolution is pi. So when they're saying find the cosine of x minus pi, what they're saying is that it's off by 180 degrees. Move it 180 degrees. So that may be a little bit confusing for you, but let's say I have some value. This is x, okay? My x value is here. If I subtract pi, that means I'm moving it 180 degrees. So it'd be mirrored here. So if this is negative 0.4, this is 0.4, okay? So 180 degrees is just going halfway around the circle, okay? They're telling me that the cosine of x minus pi is equal to 0.4, so that means the x value is 0.4. The question is, what is the y value? What is the sine? Well, you can just use Pythagorean theorem here to find the y value. Okay, so I just want to find the y value, and if I do that, I get 0.84 equals y squared. Okay, well, y, and I can find the square root of this, I sure can, but the idea is that that's the sine of theta is y equals sine theta. So that means y squared equals sine theta squared. And the way that we write sine theta squared is sine squared theta. So the question asked me if cosine of x minus pi is equal to 0.4, it said find sine squared theta. So we're really just doing a right triangle. If this is 0.4, then the y value, okay, is going to be 0.84 squared. Pardon me, the y value squared is 0.84. So sine squared is 0.84. Cosine of x minus pi is 0.4. Then the sine of x would be the square root of 0.84. And therefore sine squared is 0.84. I know that sounds probably really confusing, but that's what it is. And I will go over trig review. That'll be part of our talk today. Okay, bye.